everybody. So in this video I'm going to go over the compare-contrast essay Parenting 101 that you had to read for homework last week. So this compare-contrast essay is an example of one that is organized with the one side at a time approach. So you're comparing and contrasting two topics, and in this approach you talk about the first topic in full and then the second topic in full, making the points as you go in each one. So for the final exam essay, you're going to be asked to choose either your evaluation paragraph or your compare-contrast paragraph to expand on and create a full essay out of it. So some of you, if you choose the compare-contrast option, you'll have to look at your paragraph that you wrote and remind yourself, okay, did I use the one side at a time approach or the point-by-point approach? And do I still want to use that same approach when I turn it into a full essay? So we're going to look at this particular example and look at all the basic essay elements: introductory paragraph with thesis statement, body paragraphs with transitional topic sentences, concluding paragraph. But we're also going to look at the organization in terms of how the one side at a time approach worked in this particular essay. Okay? So we'll go through these questions first that you had to answer. Question 1 asks basically, what sentence or sentences were used to grab the reader's attention? And in this particular case, I think it's almost the entire introductory paragraph, because they're kind of giving us this little scenario. And so we have the whole scenario is what's grabbing our attention. So the film previews are finished and the movie theater is quiet as everyone waits for the feature film to begin. However, the stillness is suddenly broken by a noise. The audience hears a sniffle. The sniffle soon turns to a cry, then a wail. There's an uncomfortable or perhaps unhappy toddler sitting in the movie theater. People start shuffling in their seats as they wait for what will happen next. Will the child be taken out of the theater, or will the parent pretend that everything is okay? So that's all of that is how they're trying to grab our attention, right? And because of the way they've set that up, it leads right into the thesis statement. And in this case, the thesis statement, the answer to question 2, is the last sentence of the paragraph, the introductory paragraph. The parent's reaction depends on their parenting style. The two extremes are the lenient or laissez-faire parent and the strict disciplinarian parent, right? That's the sentence that lets us know exactly what this essay is about. Question 3 asks if the thesis statement is followed by a plan of development, which basically means, does the thesis statement list the main points that are going to be covered in the essay? And in this case, yes, it does. Because question 4 then says, what is the plan of development? Well, in this case, it's the lenient parent and the disciplinarian parent. Those are the two parenting styles that they are going to be comparing and contrasting. Okay? So question 5 then asks you, what is the topic sentence for the first body paragraph of Parenting 101? Remember, the body paragraphs are all the paragraphs that come after the introductory paragraph, but before the concluding paragraph. The first body paragraph of this essay starts with the sentence, the first type of parenting style is the lenient style. So we know that's their first main point, and we know exactly what that first main point is. Next question, question 6, what is the topic sentence for the second body paragraph? The second body paragraph starts off with, while the lenient parenting style may seem extreme to some, the disciplinarian style is equally extreme for different reasons. So we know exactly what this paragraph is going to be about based on that topic sentence. Question 7 is asking you to look at how the author transitions us, right? So there's only, 2 body paragraphs here because they chose the one side at a time approach. So how did they get us, though, from the first main point to the second one? Well, in this case, they used the phrase, while the lenient parenting style may seem extreme to some, that's what reminds us of the previous paragraph, and then focuses our attention on the new paragraph, the disciplinarian style. And question 8, which sentence or sentences in the concluding paragraph remind us of what was covered in the essay? In the end, no parents are truly 100% lenient or 100% strict when it comes to raising their child. Most fall somewhere in the middle, depending on the child, the environment, and the particular situation. Nevertheless, parents clearly lean toward one or the other parenting style. That's sort of reminding us, all of that, of what the whole essay was about. The final thought: society knows that both child rearing styles have advantages and disadvantages, but the more interesting question is this: which style will these children choose when the time comes for them to become parents? The final thought there is, we have our own parenting style that our children are experiencing. So what's interesting is, will our children mirror our parenting style, or will they choose a different parenting style? And if they choose a different one, is it because we messed it up so much and they don't want to make the same mistakes? Or does it have more to do with just who they are as people? It's a really cool, final thought, actually. It makes you think. But it's still very appropriate to what was discussed in the body of the essay. It's not like this final thought comes out of left field and, it's like, where did that come from? It all relates. Everything makes sense. So what I want to focus on now is just making sure that you understand how the essay is organized, because when you're doing a compare-contrast essay, you have those two organization methods that you can choose from. This one was one side at a time. The other is point by point, which we'll look at in the next video. But you have to make sure that you choose one of those and stick with it. You also have to make sure that you are remembering what you're covering in each section so that it all matches up. Every point that they looked at in the section on the lenient parenting style, they cover a corresponding point in the section on the disciplinarian parenting style. So it's not like, for instance, let's talk about parenting styles. We have the lenient style, and in that section we're going to talk about how lenient parents, how they deal with their kids who get in trouble, right? When they break the rules, whatever. And then in the disciplinarian section, we're going to look at how those parents deal with their kids when it comes to sports. It's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you look at, how one style deals with kids who are getting in trouble and breaking the rules, and then say you're telling us you're going to compare it or contrast it with another parenting style, but then when you get to that parenting style, you don't talk about the same thing. You talk about something completely different. That's not truly comparing and contrasting then. If what you cover in one section is different than what you cover in the other section, that's not comparing and contrasting. You're talking about two totally different things. So if you're using the one side at a time approach, you have to make sure that the main ideas match up for both sides. Whatever you're going to talk about with your first topic, you have to talk about the same kind of things when you discuss the second part of your topic. It doesn't have to be exact, but it still has to make sense. It still has to make sense that these are, here's how this parenting style does this, here's how the other parenting style does this. right? It needs to match up. When you do the point-by-point approach, which we'll talk about next, it's a little easier to make sure that you're doing that because, here's my first main point. I'm going to discuss both topics in that main point. But here, in the one-side-at-a-time approach, it's really easy to lose sight of your main ideas when you go to start discussing the second part of your topic. And it's really easy to end up talking about a whole bunch of other things that don't match up. So if you're choosing the one-side-at-a-time approach, please be very mindful of what you are talking about in each section and do your best to make sure that it all makes sense, that you are truly comparing and contrasting your two topics. Hopefully, you don't have to worry so much about that if you use the paragraph that you wrote for writing assignment 2 and you use my feedback. Right? The feedback was just for that single paragraph, but you can still use my feedback to help you figure out how to best prepare for the essay. Okay? Because all you're doing is just expanding on your ideas for the essay. You're not necessarily changing a whole lot, unless you didn't do so well on the paragraph and you never revised it. Keep that in mind. Look at your overall score. If you scored poorly on that paragraph, you might want to consider using the evaluation paragraph instead, or reaching out to me and we can work on how to take that poor paragraph and build on it to help turn it into a strong essay, right? Okay, so make sure that you've got that introductory paragraph with your thesis statement. Make sure that you have transitional topic sentences at the beginning of your body paragraphs. Make sure you signal the end of the essay with a concluding paragraph and leave us with a final thought. And use this as an example if you are using the one-side-at-a-time approach, if you're choosing to do a compare-contrast essay for the final. Okay? Have any questions? Let me know. Otherwise, you can move on to the next video.